Right, hello guys. In today's episode, I interview recent graduate of the Happy Plantar Program, Molly, who's recently been training with Summit Strength to help get fit for her adventures, overcome some reoccurring and long-term foot pain, and ultimately just feel good with her fitness. Now, in this episode, she shares some insights around her experience with Summit Strength, the training which she went through, and the changes it's made in her day-to-day life and her adventures. A great insight into just how the Summit Strength system works for a lot of hikers out there. So with that being said, let's get into it. So welcome, Molly. Really looking forward to having you on the show. Super excited to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So yeah, really looking forward to diving into all of this because I think you've got a very interesting story, which I think a lot of hikers on here are going to be able to relate to. And I think, the issue that we're going to be talking about today is something that a lot of people deal with and struggle with. And yeah, I think it's going to be really valuable to sort of chat through your story with all of this. So I guess to kick things off, do you just want to just give us a little bit of background and just talk us through who you are, where you're from, what do you do, and what is your background in hiking?
Yeah, so my name's Molly. I live in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne in Australia. I've recently graduated a double degree in nursing and public health promotion. So I've just started working as a nurse the last few months on a renal ward. And my background in hiking, well, I began with Kilimanjaro, which my mum always kind of makes fun of me. She's like, how did you start with a mountain so kind of grand? But I was super into traveling and everything like that. And then just saw Kilimanjaro one day and thought, oh, this will be a good way to get into hiking. So yeah, from there, I've just loved it since. And it's become more about mental health for me after that big climb.
Yeah, fantastic. And when we first started working together and you first decided to sort of come on board the training, what specifically were you wanting to train for?
Well, there was nothing really sort of upcoming because we were in COVID lockdowns and everything. I just thought by the time lockdown ends, I want to be sort of hiking fit so that when we can travel or even go further than 5Ks from home, that I'll just be ready for anything, do some overnight hikes, even get into running or trail running, multi-day hikes, all of that sort of thing. Because up until then, I'd just sort of been the weekend hiker, go out for an hour or two and then be wrecked. And yeah, so just there was no big goal. It was just sort of ready for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And were there any particular sort of, issues or elements of fitness or any particular challenges that you were kind of wanting to improve on?
Yeah, so the more that I was walking around the neighborhood and doing small little hikes within my lockdown zone, I noticed that I was having a lot of arch pain on both feet and occasionally a bit of sort of ankle discomfort or instability or, yeah, that was going on as well. So I think that was the main thing because I hadn't really properly built up any strength before jumping into it. I just thought I can go out for hikes, go do 15,000 steps and then, yeah, not need to build any strength.
And then tell us a little bit about the training you did do through Summit Strength. What did your program and your training kind of look like?
So it was a lot different to a lot of the gym programs I'd done in the past, which was really good, but a bit of an adjustment at the start because I thought I was so used to the narrative that you've got to go, you've got to be sweating a lot, you've got to be red in the face, everything's fast. And with Summit Strength, it was an adjustment period, but I've loved it that it's more just slow, controlled exercises, a lot of focus on recovery and mobility. And yeah, I've just loved that. It's really strength, progressive, focused rather than busting a gut.
Yeah, sure. And then, in amongst all that, was there anything, specifically different in there which you hadn't done before or tried before at all?
Yeah, so I'd never done any sort of ankle mobility. So the exercise, the knee to wall ankle mobility. Had never done that. A lot of the stretches I'd never done. I'd just go to the gym, do all of these, like lift all of these weights, do all these crazy exercises and not have any sort of recovery. So I liked that within the Summit Strength program, the recovery was built into the program. So definitely knee to wall, a lot of single leg exercises, which I'd never done any sort of training on. And just controlled movements.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different story sometimes doing those slow, controlled single leg stuff as opposed to the typical thing I guess a lot of people will do in their training. It's a very, very different experience. It may look similar at start, but definitely get some extra out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then tell us, throughout the process and throughout the training and everything, were there any particular roadblocks or challenges that you faced along the way, and if so, like how did you go about overcoming them?
I think one of the main problems when I first started, which isn't it's not to do with the training or body or anything, but when I first started the program, it was exactly the same time when I first started working full-time and working as a nurse full-time. So I guess the challenges of finding time and committing to myself, and dealing with night shift and just tiredness and being on my feet all day, and then having to commit to sort of focusing on the program and focusing on myself and training and having a goal and things like that. So that was probably the main barrier at the start, but now I've found some techniques along the way. Like I know for me, if I don't do the strength in the morning, I won't do it. So making sure I always try and do it before then. And also just being compassionate that sometimes it's life and I might miss a training session and that's not going to set me back, or it's not going to mean I won't be able to hike amazing mountains or anything like that. It's just, this is a lifestyle now. And so I think that was the main sort of thing I had to get used to. But now I've got a good routine going.
And then any particular favorite exercises or favorite workouts, that you did through the process?
Yes, I love all the single leg things because, I'd never done it in the gym. And at the start, it was such a shock just how weak my quads were, or how weak my, single legs were. And just seeing the progression over time. I feel like that's the biggest thing I've seen a progression in, and how it translates during hiking as well. I feel like now I can step up higher, I can get up hills quicker and all that sort of stuff, which, I just feel like the single leg workouts have just challenged my whole fitness and everything. And also the single leg raised deadlift, because you just feel that everywhere. And I just love that.
Yeah, nice one. And then tell us a little bit about, obviously we were training, through all this, and you sort of said you noticed a bit of a difference through the training, and you said a couple of bits and pieces about your hiking there, but all in all, like how has your your hiking and your other exercising changed after this training? Like, have you noticed differences in certain areas?
Absolutely. There's this, I live near the Dandenongs in Melbourne, and there's one kind of trail called the Fire Trail, which is just awful. It's amazing when you get to the top, but horrible on the way up. And for years I've been doing that trail, even before I'd ever call myself a hiker. It's just something a lot of people do in this area. And previously I would have had to, I'm not sure of the time, but it would have taken me a long time to go up, and stopping a lot along the way. Whereas now I just feel like my legs can do it. They can just like pump out, getting up there, and it just feels like everything's a lot quicker. And I also have a lot more sort of trust in my legs on the way down, because it's a lot of that crumbly little rock that you can just slip out on. So now on the way down, I feel like I've got the stability, I've got the quad strength that I can sort of brace myself a bit better, and I'm not as scared of falling on the way down. So that's been one huge thing. And yeah, just going out with friends and not being super, super puffed. But yeah, also I feel like just the program has taught me, like I said before, a lot of compassion for myself, that it doesn't matter if you're the slowest one or you are puffed out or your legs are sore. I feel like now I'm just thinking, well, I'm doing it. I'm getting out there. I've put in all this work. So I'm just as entitled to give these things a go. You don't have to look a certain way or, yeah, wear certain things to be a hiker. And I think it's been quite a nice journey, all of this training and stuff.
Awesome. And obviously we're still kind of still training at the moment, beyond the initial program, and still working on bits and pieces. But moving forward, 2022 is looming on us, and the new year just around the corner. We're out of lockdown, hopefully for forever. So what is the sort of plan of attack for your hiking and your adventures, and I guess your training moving forward?
Yeah. So next week I'm doing my first hike in camp and then hike out, which I'm not sure where we're going yet, but that's booked in that I'm doing that. And then hopefully international travel still feels like unreal. But when we can do that, I'd love to do base camp. I'd love to go to Central America. I'd love to go to, I think it's pronounced Yosemite. I don't know. I can never pronounce it. Just so many places. And I feel like I'm just so excited. I'll keep seeing videos of new trails and I'm not thinking, oh, that's going to take a year's worth of training to do. Now I'm just thinking, oh, okay, if I spoke to Rowan, put in a little bit more, like had some more specific exercises for that type of terrain, that I could give it a go. So that's really exciting.
And then I know over the last week, you've ran into a little bit of a hiccup, and there was a little bit of a story over the last 7-8 days. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep. So on the weekend, I don't know what I was thinking. I decided to wear heels, which already that's just not something I normally wear, maybe once or twice a year, and was on my feet for probably 6 or so hours, and then had a lot of arch pain pretty much after a few steps. And I thought, oh God, what have I done? So yeah, I was a bit disheartened by that because that pain sort of persisted for a few days. And then as a nurse, you're on your feet constantly. You don't really sit down. So I just kept thinking, I was getting overwhelmed that I couldn't avoid the pain even while at work. But it's since settled. Everything's better. I'm doing the recovery and mobility, and I've had a better outlook on it, and it's all resolved. So I think it's been a nice lesson that maybe heels aren't for me all the time, but also that there will be little hiccups, and just trust in your body, that not immediately jumping to, oh, wow, I'm back at step one. I've caused permanent damage, but it's so easy for my brain to go there. So it's nice I'll be able to look back on this and think, okay, that sort of thing has happened before and I've gotten through it and my feet have held up and I can go on awesome hikes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I wanted to talk about that today, because I know a lot of people listening who are dealing with some type of, going through some pain prevention journey, whether it's feet or knees or back or whatever it may be. They might go through this really long process and, do some good things and see some really, really good progress. But, every once in a while, there will be something that pops up, and there'll be a hiccup, there'll be a challenge, and there'll be a flare up of discomfort. And just as sort of you said there, it doesn't mean you're back to square one. It doesn't mean you're breaking yourself. It doesn't mean, your body's, falling apart. Typically, in a few days, it'll start sorting itself out as long as you do the right things and look after yourself. But it can be very, very scary in those, 48, 72 hours. It can stress you out. But yeah, the reason I want to talk about today, because I know a lot of people listening will go through that. And I think it's helpful just to hear, hear the words from someone who's just gone through it recently and, just come out the other side, because we always will. And I think that was, very, very important to bring up. So I feel like we've gone through we've fired through this really quickly, which has been great. Short, sharp, and succinct. Love it, Molly. This is fantastic. You were saying before the call, you're like, "Oh, make sure I don't ramble on too much," but no issues there. So this has been great. So beyond what we've sort of talked about so far, is there anything else you'd sort of like to add? Any other sort of comments or anything else, that you thought might be valuable for the listeners?
Yeah, I don't know if this doesn't really have anything to do with strength or kind of injury prevention, but I think just like as a young woman with things like hiking or just a lot of exercise, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on aesthetics, that you need to look a certain way to even begin to be a hiker. You've got to have the right pack or the right shoes or all of that sort of thing, or you've got to, same with running, immediately be good at something, because normally those are the people we see on social media. You see the people that do it all the time and don't look puffed and they don't look like they're in pain. But I think during all of this, that's just been the main thing, that just being kind to yourself and getting out there, giving it a go, because I think that holds a lot of women back. The comparison to other people, and thinking that you've already got to be good to even start. And that's just not true. And I think with hiking, like the mental health benefits are now what's really pushing me out there. Obviously it feels good to have legs that are burning, be out there with mates and like push yourself. But just being out in nature, seeing trees, birds, and just stopping when I want to stop, and then having a snack, keep going. That's the biggest drive. So I'm glad that with the Summit Strength program, like I'm just strong enough to do that, to then benefit not just my body, but my brain, my relationships. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think that is such a valuable point to bring up as well. And, I'm so glad you touched on that, because again, I think a lot of people will resonate with that very, very much. So thank you for bringing that up. And all in all, like, I just want to say thank you for coming on, because I think this has been awesome. It's been really, really nice, having a chat through all of this. It's been really, really nice having a bit of a recap around your last training, the last 13, 14 weeks or whatever it may be, maybe a little bit longer now. And it's been, it's really fantastic just to hear the sort of progress you've gone through over this time, and sort of, not just the physical, but also, the potential social and mental benefits of being able to get out and really properly enjoy your adventures and all of that, which is awesome. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this, Molly. I really, really appreciate it. And really exciting that you've got that first overnighter coming up over on the weekend, or coming up soon. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how that all goes. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And I think it's been an awesome episode.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.